What's up, Holloway gang? Welcome back to another episode of the Let Me Holla at You podcast, where we talk about real love, real life, and real stories. I'm one of your hosts, your boy Trey, and this is my lovely duo host, my wife, my better half, my one and only, the
Katya.
last name
Holloway.
And we would like to thank you guys for being with us this week, and thank you guys for being patient. I know it's hard going from every week to every 2 weeks, but we promise you won't regret it. But with no further ado, let us holler at you.
Thank you guys so much for coming back to yet another episode of Let Me Holla at You. That being said, though, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into our story of the day, and then we'll get into our episode as usual. So, this one I actually pulled from Reddit because it's juicy. That being said, it's from the Am I the Asshole subreddit as well. So, we're going to jump right in, and the title is, Am I the Asshole for telling my wife her homophobic family can't stay with us? Off rip, yes or no?
No.
Great answer. No. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into the story though. My wife and I have been together for about 2.5 years. Her family is very conservative and homophobic, and have been so for entirely too long in my opinion when they have a gay daughter. This territory is nothing new to them. She came out to them when she was 18, she's 31. She has an ex-wife that she was married to for 8 years, and they have a son together. It's truly shocking how close-minded they still are to her lifestyle. They've always been pretty cold toward me. When we were dating, it was so obvious how differently her straight sisters in their straight relationships were treated. This has always bothered me, but they live about 3 hours away, so I'm able to keep my distance and them out of my mind for the most part. My wife was accepted the way that they are is just how it is, like that she's just accepted it. And she thinks it's worth just letting things be in order to keep any kind of relationship with them. This dynamic has always bothered me, but things really came to a head last fall when one of her sisters got married. Her entire family was so involved with every part of the process. It was obviously such a big deal. They were all super excited. At the wedding, my fiance at the time was a bridesmaid and in the wedding party. I was sat with the rest of the family who did not acknowledge me, talk to me, interact with me at all the entire time. They truly acted as if they had no idea who I was. Meanwhile, they are fawning over their straight daughter and her marriage while I'm sitting there knowing I'm planning to marry their gay daughter in the next few months. It made me really sad and angry. I drew a line. I told my fiance at the time that the way that they acted like I was a ghost was the last straw, and that if they want to act like I don't exist, they are also dead to me. Fast forward to now, we are married, eloped thanks to the scariness of this administration. My wife informs me that her dad and her stepmom want to come visit in a couple of weeks. They have never once visited us and are coming because my wife's son will be on spring break. Apparently they are planning to stay with us too. I got upset and told my wife I don't want them in my house. I hate being disrespected when I've done nothing but try my best to be a part of the family and have gotten rejected over and over again. I thought they would come around, but the dynamic was almost worse once we were engaged. I don't know what to do. There's no way my wife will tell them they can't come, and she's never been willing to have a conversation with them about this. I just can't imagine being forced to host them. Am I the asshole? Off rip, no.
I don't think so. No.
No, because whether it was about being gay or not being gay, like that's not the problem. The problem for me is that they're disrespecting you as just a human being, as someone that's especially married to their daughter. And I also kind of have an issue with the wife because she's not willing to have a conversation with them about it, or at least right now she's not. That seems to be what the poster is saying. And it's like when you choose to get married, like you're gonna have to know that you might have to have hard conversations with your family that you grew up in. Like, and I'm not saying that always happens, but there's going to be at some point something that you guys might not agree on, and it's not always going to be just peaches and cream. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to possibly have to stand up for your partner one day, or the way you want to live, or your lifestyle. And I mean, that's human. It is what it is. And your family should be able to respect that. But if you're not even willing to just have a discussion about it or bring it up, and like I have the issue with how is the wife not have an issue with how her own wife is being treated. Like they treated this daughter-in-law as like an outcast of their family. Like that's a problem. You know what I mean? And there's like not a no contact order, so why are you treating them like this? Like all because you don't like that they're gay. Like this, and again, I don't even think this has, I mean, obviously their thing is because they're gay, but I'm like, for me it's like that's just basic human decency. I don't care if you're gay or whatever, but like if we disagree on something, we at least have a conversation about it, and I'm not gonna judge you or treat you differently because you're gay. So I don't know, that's really messed up to me. And I don't really like how the wife hasn't said anything yet either.
Right. No, I don't think that she's an asshole at all. I think that you definitely have to stand up for yourself in the way that you want to be treated. I think, although, especially with them coming into her safe space, I feel like a conversation should have been had prior. Like, I feel like that's the only thing I would say I feel like she could have done a little bit more is that moment when you felt like that, maybe not in that moment, but afterwards, maybe having a conversation on your own accord and just saying like, hey, this is how I feel. And then
it sounds like they did. They said that they drew a line and that, like, if they're going to treat me like I'm like a ghost, then they're a ghost.
Well, no, that's
to me
what I'm
too.
saying. They drew the line, but I'm saying there should have been, I feel like, when her and the wife talked about it, I feel like they should have had a conversation with
before
everyone
they draw the line.
Before she drew the line. And then I think that conversation would have gave the clarity of,
and again,
we need to draw the line. And I think the wife would have been maybe more so, which I'm with you. She should have streamlined that. Like, she definitely should have pushed for it. But maybe it's because of how she's even treated within her own family
she's not wanting to do it.
And she's just not wanting to deal with it, or maybe that's her wall that she's put up to keep herself. She just kind of ignores it. And maybe the wife hasn't really noticed that side of her as much, as because, of course, they know that they don't really get along, so they don't put themselves in a situation where they have to be with them all the time. I'm pretty sure. So that's why it was kind of hard for me to answer at first if she was an asshole or not. But I don't think she's an asshole at all for how she feels. Yeah. And especially with them coming into the home now. The child being in the mix was kind of thrown in there like all willy-nilly. That does change things for me. That's why I said I feel like she should have kind of had, should have come together and had a conversation with the family prior to.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Before the line being drawn. So then there's no confusion. Right. You know what I'm saying? Especially for that child's sake, with them wanting to come around and... that was just kind of messy.
But my thing is like, when you guys are now married and obviously live together, as most married people do. So it's like, I understand 100% fully not wanting them to be allowed in your home. Like, that's your own home and you don't want to be walking around on eggshells all week. Or like they said, be disrespected in your own home. Like, I would not stand for that. I know you wouldn't stand for that. You know what I'm saying? So like, I get that 100%. That being said, though, all the comments that I'm seeing, people are obviously agreeing that they're not the asshole. Someone said, and I kind of agree with this one a little bit, says, you have a wife problem. If she isn't willing to put her foot down and invites her disrespectful family into your home, I'd make it a point to be absent when they show up and make marriage counseling a condition of your return. It's never okay to ignore your spouse's feelings and disregard their concerns, especially concerning your family origin. That's a little extreme. However, like, just have the conversation about it. Yeah. And I do agree that I don't want to say you have to force the wife, but I think you need to tell the wife, like, obviously, or tell your wife, like, this is actually something that you might not want to deal with, but I have to deal with, or we need to deal with this together before we can move forward.
Now that I'm kind of thinking about it, though, it's hard for me to say that it's because I feel like we need more from the wife's point of view on the situation before I can make an determination. Because now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, to me, it doesn't sound like a homophobic thing. Because then it was like the daughter would kind of almost be shunned herself if they didn't agree with the fact that they were, you know what I'm saying? If they were homosexuals, like if they didn't agree with that, I hear more cases of the entire family kind of turning than just on the partner, because it's not the partner's fault. Like they chose each other. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking that it maybe is a personality thing, and maybe they just don't like the type of person that they are, and that's why I think the conversation needs to be had. Because I think
there's more
she
to it.
Might be looping it into something that it may not necessarily be, because if they're still willing to come around and be around, I mean, it could just be for the grandchild's sake. Right. I mean, that does change things, and I know a lot of grandparents will do anything to be in their grandchildren's lives. But I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something.
I get that. Well, there is an edit. So, or edit to add, I should say. This was after they got a lot of comments. There was a lot of positive reinforcement as well, or like ideas of what they could do. So they said, thank you everyone for the positive reinforcement and suggestions for how to navigate this tricky situation. Obviously, I knew this was an issue before we got married.
Okay.
Again, with the family distance and my love and commitment for her, this was not enough to not get married. I had told her my red line after her sister's wedding, which was that I would not be participating or traveling for family stuff unless something changed. So this planned visit without my input first was a bit of a shock. Mm-hmm. Since posting, I have told her that she either needs to finally have a conversation with them, ask them to stay in a hotel, or that I will leave for the weekend. After a long discussion, she has told me she'll have the conversation. So here's hoping some progress is made. So that was a really good ending. I really liked that. Just a good, like, positive, they had a conversation, they're moving on from it, or doing what they can to move forward from it, so.
Yeah.
And I do like also, too, that, like, the wife isn't like, we need to cut them off. Like, she's even said, I'll leave for the weekend if I have to, like, which is sad, but I do like the fact that she is trying to compromise of, like, this is her family, so, like, I'm not saying you have to cut them off, but, like, you do need to have a conversation, or I'm leaving for the weekend, or they need to go stay somewhere else.
And I think that was another part of my hesitation,
boundaries,
too.
yeah.
Because it was like, that is your partner's family, and it is kind of messed up to make them choose 100%. I mean,
even
once you get married,
things
do kind of change. I mean, it's you and your wife against the world, for sure.
Right.
But, I mean, that's your family. And so I do feel like there is a line there. But she did put up her wall. She set up her boundary. And they did talk to that, and she understood, and it sounds like she was heard. So hopefully they get some good clarification and get a good happy ending out of that.
Yeah, I agree.
And can be able to coexist.
I think the consensus is not the asshole. But if you guys have a different thought, or you have something else that you want to point out, please let us know. And especially if you think this person is the asshole for not wanting them to stay there, we'd love to hear why. Because obviously we don't see that. But that's our little intro story for the day. Next, we're going to go ahead and get into the rest of our episode, which is all on conspiracy theories. Alright, so today's episode is all things conspiracy theories. I'm not going to lie, I got this episode idea because I was going down the TikTok rabbit hole at like 1 a.m. one night. And some of them came up on my page. I clicked on someone else's page, and they just had a page full of conspiracy theories. And I was like,
sounds about right.
Babe, what if we do an episode on conspiracy theories?
Yes.
So, that being said, we actually haven't really talked conspiracy theories before. Like, I think maybe like once or twice or something it's come up in conversation. But we haven't really talked about any of these. So I went ahead and we researched some very popular ones. And then we also asked you guys a poll on our story if you guys had any that you wanted us to touch on. So obviously those we will do as well, or mix in with the ones I looked up as well. Yep. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our first conspiracy theory. Also, before I even get started, we want to hear from you guys. I would love to hear if you agree with them, if you don't agree with them, if you hate conspiracy theories, if you love them. I want to know.
Yes.
I like hearing all the sides.
Opinions. Give it all.
Opinions. So that being said, the first one that we're touching on is the New World Order conspiracy theory. Ooh. Yes. This theory claims that a secretive, powerful elite is working to establish a single authoritarian global government. This alleged government would control all aspects of life, political, economic, and social, while eliminating national sovereignty and personal freedoms. So, off rip, just kind of given that. I have some key things I can pull in, but what do you think?
I mean, I think that with all of the examples that we've seen in like our social society of it always kind of being like always like someone's against someone, or like we're all being pinned against each other in ideals, but it does always seem like down here on the normal, I guess, social side of things, when we're all pointing our fingers at each other and it's hard for us to all men to get together, the ones that we would call elite always seem to be buddy-buddy, hunky-dory, everything's all good, you know? Which, of course, money and prosperity does bring, you know, comfortability. It does bring a sense of peace when everything else in the world seems in disarray. But, I mean, I do feel like if you watch the trends and you think about it, the world does kind of trend itself in that way. I read a book back when I was in school called Pygmalion, I want to say. And I hope it's not the wrong book that I'm talking about. But it's all basically it's like classism and how like the elite control everything that the normal people do in the bottom, how they act, how they dress. Like you, to be in this society, you have to look a certain way. Your house has to be a certain way. You have to work a certain job. Your parents have to be from a certain area, like, and things of that nature. And if you hear anything social wise, like it's always about how like a certain group has had more advantages than another group just because of things that happen in history and society. So all in all, it kind of makes sense to me. Like I can't downright say that that's not the case.
Right.
You know, I feel like there's more evidence for that being the case than there is for that not.
Against it, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually agree, honestly, because I feel like too, there's a reason everyone is so polarized right now. Like, and I say this in so many ways because yes, politics are polarizing, but like politics nowadays aren't just, how do I put it, like laws. Like politics are now a social order as well. And I feel like because that's being brought in, it's like everyone is so polarized on one side or the other. There's not a lot of middle grounds, but I think they're 100% doing this. Like there's things that are happening and within the government that they're both sides are doing it too. Like, but I think like they're working together to keep it polarized, because if people actually were to find a middle ground and be able to talk to each other and not always point the finger and have conversations, they can't get away with as much. You know what I'm saying? Because now we're a united front against this other elite group. And I don't care if anyone tries to go against me on that. I 100% believe it, because it's easier to fight a bunch of little people in little groups than it is to fight one big group. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like that they're 100% doing that, and like there's a reason for it. You know what I mean?
I've even heard too that there's like movies
you're
and
easier
stuff
to control
that are 100% funded by like the Pentagon or the government.
Yeah.
And so I'm intrigued now hearing this conspiracy theory. I'm intrigued to go back because there are a lot of movies that play into this idea, like Hunger Games, for example, is like the major one that kind of pops in my head. And there's like several more where this whole like idea of the elite being in control of the lower class and people below the poverty line.
And I've always said this too, like, and I don't think it really lays into politics in the way that I'm trying to convey it, but I've always said this too, is like, I personally think the easiest way for people to control other people is to eliminate the class system. Like, if you're just doing like two big classes of super rich people and then like a group of poor people, and you're making everyone dirt poor as much as you can, like that's how you control them, because they're now relying on you for everything. So eliminating classes of having the lower and the middle and the high and then the elite, like, you know what I'm saying, classes, like that's how you control people, you know what I'm saying, because you're not having people that can be in the middle. And so these groups, like, look at, what is it, BlackRock or whatever, this, like, BlackRock like owns freaking everything. Like there's a whole group out there, or this company I should say, that owns almost everything that is a major company in the world. And obviously if they own everything, they're influencing everything that we do. And it's like, they're completely involved in politics. So that's where I'm coming from, is like, I feel like there's a lot of like higher things happening that we'll never even know about. And you know, we're just kind of along for the ride sometimes. Like, I'm not saying it can't be changed, but I mean, for example, one of the points that I kind of wrote down was like secret societies and like the elites or whatever, Illuminati, Freemasons, the Bilderberg group, all of these have been accused of associating and orchestrating like this new world order. Wealthy families, Rockefellers, those kind of, you know what I'm saying, like they're said to also manipulate like things that are happening in the world and kind of also help orchestrating it. Like, and I also want to point out, when you look at the people that are in these really, really high positions, they want to point the finger at each other all day, but then they're buddy the next day having dinner together. I'm like, if you're really like putting on this such a good performance, it's like, what are you doing behind the scenes? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That's all I'm like going on into it. I feel like I could with conspiracy theories too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's hard too. I think the only question mark I can say is it's hard to delve out who those elites are. Right. For sure. You can't say every celebrity that has millions of dollars is automatically involved in this new world order elite type of system. I mean, I don't know if you can necessarily say all the billionaires are 100% involved. Right. So like, how do you determine who the elites
Who
are,
it is,
and
yeah.
that's like the hard part. I think the easiest thing for us to do is to say the government, because I mean, they are in the
Any
sense
governments, yeah.
in control of everything, and so those would be my first guess of the people that would be involved. Would
Right.
be those very people that's the House of Representatives, Senate, all those people that make those decisions. I would assume that they would be involved in that, but you also have polarizing sides even within government. Like it's not like they're all together. There's a Democratic side and there's a Republican side, so that they're even polarized.
There's third party, yeah. Like there's a lot. I'll say there are some criticisms and rebuttals that are popular too. And two of them like really being is that they think that the conspiracy theory itself was also just made up to actually insert like fear into everybody and like or really insert a distrust of the government. Which, I mean...
That would make sense.
Hello, I just sat there and said it. Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't need this theory to give me a distrust in government sometimes, or specifically in our world right now. Like, I feel like everybody can have a little bit of a...
Skepticism. I feel like
skepticism of government.
Skepticism is normal. Like,
yeah.
I think it's normal to want to prove something wrong or think the opposite of the way that everybody else
or think that something might not actually be what it is. Like
like I think that's normal.
Exactly. And so I think this was just one of those things to really help put it out there even more, which that being said, this criticism would follow my other theory that they're polarizing everyone to keep us separated and easier to control. Like that would actually go with that would go actually with what I was saying technically.
Yeah. And if you're talking about like democracy in a sense, I mean, there's so many people that didn't want democracy to work and that still wants it to fail. What's the fastest way to start that process? Is to get the very people that are involved in democracy to believe that it's not true, or to question it, or to question the bounds of it, or how far it can go, or where it should cut off, and all this and that. That by itself creates chaos within the system. So if you're thinking about that, I mean, that I could see too, on the other end of things, yeah.
And then honestly, besides that, the only other like rebuttal or criticism is that there's no actually credible evidence. But
I mean,
there's things that there's not been credible evidence, and yet.
I mean, if you want to look at just
there's enough.
The things that are being talked about just in the last couple of days. I mean, the kids are literally, our children nowadays are literally being controlled by social media. They believe whatever they see and whatever they can digest online. So we already have them distrusting credible news sources and certain news. If it doesn't align with their thinking, which was helped to be formulated by social media, then it's like, that's not real. Well, they're just complaining about nothing, or they don't know anything. So, I mean, it's already kind of started. I mean, if you start to fail at education and you're not educating your people properly, then they're going to make the same mistakes, if not worse mistakes, in the future, which is just going to continually tear down the very thing that you say that you want to build. So, I mean, there's symbols, there's signs all around us. I mean, the tearing down of the Department of Education. I mean, I don't even know what that means in the sense of everything and how that would even look or what that works. But I mean, just saying that in the title by itself, I mean, it sounds kind of insane.
Well, I think it's also to incite that fear a little bit, because I also think there's a lot of, I think not even just ignorance, but like, what all does all of this mean? Like, there's a lot of like big things that always happen, or there's like big headline type things of, oh, this is going where this is going, but like no one ever actually explains what it actually means without having a bias, because other people are on one side saying, oh my God, this is the end of education and blah, blah, blah. And then other people are like, well, the states are just controlling education like they have. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just going back to the states, which is fine because you're still getting educated. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have like two different sides of it again, but it's like no one's actually explaining the little in-betweens. And it's like, I don't have enough time to be so real with you. As someone who works full time and is trying to have a house and a life, I don't have the time in the day to go down a rabbit hole every day on everything that's happening all the time to get all the facts. Yeah. Like, that's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on the education thing, but... And
then another conspiracy theory, how do we know that the facts being given are the actual facts, or they're not doctored facts?
That...
Or are they not facts that are just being presented to us because they know our position or stance in a certain situation? And then now they're just feeding you the information that you want to hear.
Exactly. Well, and you actually bringing up education, this one was not on my list, but there has been, I feel like, a conspiracy theory that's been growing lately, and I 100% believe it, that they're purposely trying to make our kids dumb. Like, the children, the reason that our education system is so bad, the reason that they are hand-holding these children so much more and not making them step up to the plate and learn, and they're getting rid of critical thinking in schools. Like, it's astronomical, the difference in between even my education and then however many years later, which is not that much, the education that my current students are receiving. I 100% am so worried about this generation after they become a legal adult into the society and like the world. And I'm like, I'm worried for their future success, because I feel like they're not even being given the skills. And I'm not talking about learning algebra 2 or something, or going and acing English 4 honors, okay? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about actual skills that you need in the real world, like how to manage your time, how to be organized, how to critically think, meaning like if you have a problem, how are you going to fix it, or how are you going to get out of it? Like, without having to go to somebody else and have them fix the problem for you, because that's not always how life works. Like, some of these skills I'm actually so worried about, because I feel like we're lacking them right now in our education, and they're standardized testing so much, like literally teaching you for a test. The guy who created standardized testing said it should never be used on children. Why are we... He created it, and yet we're using it. Like, you understand, like, we listen to the experts, but the experts, you're obviously not listening to them all the way, because he was an expert in standardized testing, but he also said you should never use it. And what are we doing? Oh, we listen to the experts, but we didn't listen to the experts. Like, anyway, that's a whole nother conspiracy theory as well. But I believe they're trying to make our kids dumb for something.
And it all lends itself back to just like kind of this idea of creating a new world order. I mean, your reality is not the reality. It's really this. And then as much as we can make you question that, or as many times we can make you question that and keep you in that wormhole or that loophole, then the more that we can actually do whatever we need to do or whatever we want to do, and you're just falling right into the pits of things.
Yes.
So, again, it's a conspiracy theory. Not saying that it is true or not true, but I think there's evidence that lends itself to both, and we just kind of have to pay attention to that, and of course, take the facts and formulate your own opinion. And
right.
Kind of move accordingly. Try as best as you can to educate yourself.
Right. So, first one we want to hear your thoughts on is, do you believe in the New World Order theory? But then the second one that I kind of went into, not even fully, but definitely brought up, was, do you think that they're purposely trying to make our kids or our children dumb by not having a good education system, so that way they're better, easier to control? I want to know. All right, let's move on to the next one, shall we?
Yes.
All right, so our next theory that we're bringing to you today is Area 51. Woo! So, the Area 51 conspiracy theory just revolves around the idea that the U.S. government is hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life and advanced alien technology at a top-secret military base, Area 51, in Nevada. This base itself is supposed to be used for testing experimental aircraft and weapon systems. That being said, there's been so many sightings and videos and all kinds of stuff that people have claimed or gotten footage of just like random things that happen around Area 51. Some people say that they've seen UFOs crash basically near the site or into Area 51. There's unusual lights, fast-moving objects in the sky, things like that. All this being said, though, obviously it's been rebutted at every step of the way. So they say, well, we're experimenting with aircraft, so that's all that was, or it's, weapon systems, and because it's an experimental base, but it's also so secretive, it's like they can kind of get away with saying, oh, well, it's something that we're just experimenting with, but it's not like actual alien stuff. How do you feel about the Area 51 conspiracy theory?
I don't know if I'm wrong, but I feel like in Trump's last election, I feel like when they had to release all of those files related to Area 51, so I feel like it's already been proved that Area 51 is a legit thing, and that they do have alien like technology and things of that nature located in there. Like, I think there are documents on that. I have not read those, and I'm not very versed in that because I don't really go super well down the rabbit hole of the whole alien exploration and all that. But I want to say that has come out at least a little bit to be a little accurate. Now, my conspiracy is that the real Area 51 is not in Nevada. It's in Utah, okay? I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Skinwalker Ranch, but a lot of the sightings and things that happen on that ranch that they talk about, it's on Netflix and Hulu in case you want to check it out. In my opinion, lends itself more so to the testing of alien technology, and then it just happens to present itself there sometimes, and the government's not going to come out and say that, because they even had some run-ins with some government aircraft and stuff like that shouldn't have even been there, or
Right.
their technology has been going up in certain places and it's like disappearing out of the sky. So anyway, sorry, that's off the point.
No, I actually really
but
like
I
that.
definitely 100% agree and believe that they know more about extraterrestrials and alien life forms than they do let us know. I know that in the last 10 years or so, there's been a lot more information released. But I just feel like there's like a lot more than what we really know. And we won't get that information until they want us to have it.
Right. No, I actually okay, so here's my stance. I feel like that whether Area 51 has some alien extraterrestrial stuff going on or not, 100% Area 51 is hiding so much stuff. Because there's I don't say no reason, but there's no reason as to why this specific spot and this specific base or whatever has this high level of security to the point that they will like shoot you on sight if you try to come too close and try to get in and stuff. Like no other bases, like bases are secure, very secure, but no other bases that I've heard of had that much security. So I don't know if it's alien stuff that they're hiding, but I 100% believe that there's something going on that we're not allowed to know as civilians yet. Whether it's obviously for our safety or they're experimenting or doing whatever, that's up to whatever. But speaking on the alien part, I 100% believe that there's aliens, okay? And I say aliens because we just don't know, like, what they would look like or what they are and, like, that kind of thing. Like, but someone said this to me, and it's stuck with me for years. I'm talking, they told this to me when I was, like, 12 or 13, okay? I'm old now, so years. They said, how ignorant are we to believe that we have life on Earth in so many different forms of life, but yet there would not be another type of life elsewhere with how big space is and how many galaxies there are and blah, 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 blah. Like, I was like, damn. Like, you have a point. Like
Yeah.
my brain got to thinking. They were like, how, like, ignorant and self-centered are we to think that there's not a life elsewhere? And I was like, you are so freaking right. Like, that makes so much sense when you put it like that. Now, I don't know if they're close or if we've actually had encounters coming onto Earth, but I mean, there are things that have happened that would be questionable. Now, I also want to bring up another idea is that actually like alien extraterrestrial life that's made its way here? Or is that also like other dimensions that we can't as humans see and like frequencies and things that we as humans can't always understand or grasp because our brain can only like literally understand
And that's
so much.
what I was just about to say. I feel like a lot of times, because when you hear about stories of someone like encountering something or seeing something, I almost feel like when you go through, it almost feels like when you're experiencing something that you've never experienced before, it's almost like your body and your brain is having an out of body experience. So you really don't know what it is what you saw or what you heard. But of course, when more things around you are happening that prove to what you believe to be happening in your mind, I would not be surprised if that image did not come before you, because that's what you're wanting so bad to all of this stuff to manifest itself into.
Yeah.
So do I think that there are alien things out that we haven't discovered that due to changes in the world and global and all that stuff. I ain't trying to get too deep into that. I'm not very well versed in it, but
Right. Literally just changes in the
have
environment.
caused animals, because I mean natural selection is a thing. Cultural evolution. What's it? Evolution, evolution in general.
Oh, just evolution, yeah.
It's a thing. Like, things evolve. So I'm thinking that sometimes could you see something that you just nobody saw before, has ever said anything
Right.
about, and like you've never encountered, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's an alien.
Right.
It is an alien because you've never seen it before,
Yeah.
but it's not an alien in the way that we think aliens. You know, the weird head and the
Yeah. I think they just like put a character to it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But like if you really think about it, like aliens could literally look and just talk and sound just like us.
Very
you know
true.
what I'm saying? Like, because I mean, we're aliens
We're
to somebody
aliens,
else.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, an alien is just like kind of like almost an imaginary type of. It's like a word associated with an imaginary thing that we don't really know what it is. It's like an unidentifiable, like, thing, or you know what I'm saying, or you're not from this like space. Like, people have even used like the term alien in like even in like immigration or something. Like, someone, for example, if I were to go to, I don't know, Portugal or something, you know what I'm saying, like, I would technically be like an alien to them in terms of I'm not from there,
right.
I don't live there, like, I'm from a different land. So it's like, it kind of also depends on how you want to categorize it. But let me not even get into that.
We have to be honest too. I mean, when this idea of aliens started to become a huge thing, I mean, that was right in the cusp of entertainment and everything blowing up. So of course they gave an image, they gave us sounds, they gave a mysteriousness to the word alien, because I mean that's literally what alien means. It's something that is mysterious or that is unknown to the eye or to human or whatever. But now it's just like when you hear the word alien, it's just that's what pops into your brain. Right. It becomes a part of. So, and I think it again, like going back. I mean, I know we've kind of got off the New World Order thing, but again, how the best way to confuse somebody is, you know, like you put an image in their head and like they can only see something one way, and they don't really have the tools to problem solve and think through it critically to understand what else it could be.
Give people more questions than answers.
Exactly. That's
Yep.
Exactly.
No, I like that a lot. Now, just officially about Area 51 hiding alien or extraterrestrial things, honestly, I'll say it doesn't have to be extraterrestrial. Like, I personally, I believe in the conspiracy theory, but I don't at the same time. Do I believe that they're hiding something? 100%. Does it have to be aliens? Not necessarily. But do I also believe in aliens or like kind of other things that can be weird that are happening and mysterious? 100%. So that's kind of how I feel. But what are your guys' thoughts? Do you believe that Area 51 is hiding aliens and extraterrestrial?
If you know any more information or anywhere we can find resources to where we can get more information too, I know some people are really into it. Like, educate us. Like, I'm just speaking from what I know. Right. Face value. I don't go down the rabbit hole very much.
Obviously, there's so much to these conspiracy theories. So, like, all the research that we've done and what we're talking about is just like a tiny, tiny overview of this big ass conspiracy. Like, so there's so much that goes into it. Like, people literally dedicate their lives. So kudos to you guys, because that's like, it's so much that goes into it, and we're just doing like covering this little much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all we got for that one.
All right, y'all. So our last conspiracy theory of the day is having to do with the big pharma conspiracy theory. Now, the big pharma conspiracy theory claims that pharmaceutical companies, often in collusion with governments, healthcare providers, and regulatory agencies, prioritize profits over public health. It suggests they deliberately suppress cures, exaggerate disease risk, and manipulate medical practices to keep people dependent on expensive medications and treatments. Yeah, they doing that.
Yeah, 100%.
They doing that. Yeah, they doing that.
Can I go ahead and start us off? Because I got a couple points.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, as someone who literally worked in the healthcare industry, yes. But as someone who didn't work in the healthcare industry and has been also a patient, yes. Okay? I think there's so much going on with Big Pharma. First point I want to make is this, right? How in the United States, especially compared to other countries, right? We have all these diseases that don't exist elsewhere. Or they exist, but they're way more rare than they are here because they're actually taking care of people in their other countries. Why is it that all of our food has thousands of ingredients in it when you only need 5 to make something, but you have thousands in there, and it's literally proven to be so bad for you? This is why we all have health issues, and no one can just literally... No one probably even knows what just being healthy really is in the United States because of what's in our foods, even the organic foods. Why is that? But then, again, you can go, like, for example, I studied abroad in Italy. I had pasta and bread every night, and it was the best freaking dinners ever. Pasta and bread. I never felt heavy. I never had digestion issues. I never got bloated. Pasta and bread. And sometimes I had it for lunch because it was leftover, okay? Every single night for like 2 weeks straight, and sometimes for lunch. I couldn't do that here. I eat pasta and bread, and I love it. Every night, though, I would have blown up by now. You know what I'm saying? With how much stuff is in our food. And then on top of this, when you actually go to other places, They have natural ways to heal people, or instead of always trying to push medications on everybody, they're like, hey, why don't you try this diet and this lifestyle, and then it freaking heals them. Like, there's so much that if you actually look up, like, what they're doing in other places that could help you or heal you or have a better lifestyle for yourself, that, like, you go to the doctors here, that's another topic, but if you go to the doctors here, they don't even know what that stuff is. And this brings me to my next topic. Sorry, one more. Doctors go to medical school. Let me repeat that. Doctors go to medical school. They learn what diseases are. They learn how the body works. But what do they learn how to treat those? What do they learn to treat it with? Medicine. Medicine. Not herbs and foods and diets and life. Medicine. I'm not saying everything can be treated with just a different diet or a lifestyle or whatever, or a certain level of vitamin that you need. But honestly, half of the crap that we deal with can definitely be treated with a different lifestyle, a diet, or a vitamin. And yet you're pushing medicine down our throats all the freaking time. And some of this medicine is not even good for you, or has worse side effects than what you're dealing with. That's all I really have to say about that. I could keep going for days and days and days, and I lied. I have one example, and then I'll be done, so that way you can have a moment. But my example is this too. I know someone personally with an autoimmune disease, and they wanted to get off of all the medications that they were taking. And I'm talking 15, 20 medications every day because of their autoimmune disease and all the symptoms and things that they had that come along with it. They are now down to literally like 1 or 2, and one of them is because they don't have a thyroid anymore because like surgery took it out. So you have to have something obviously to replace the thyroid not being in your body. So that's one of them. Can't not have that. And then the second one is something that's only what's the word? It's not an all time thing. It's something that they're dealing with right now. A temporary medication. And once they're done with that, they're going to be done with it, hopefully for the foreseeable future. And you want to know why? It's because they got on CBD. Literally CBD, like gummies and like different like pills or THC, whatever. Like literally the most natural thing that you can do to heal your body. They got off of all of these medications because of CBD and the lifestyle change and making all their food from home. I rest my case.
Yep.
Sorry, that was a lot.
And just a few other points too. Why are there pharmaceutical reps in hospitals all the time pushing other medications and trying to sell medications to doctors? This is a place where people come to heal. This is not a place where you sell more poison and more drugs put in people's body. I've never heard a side effect to going to the gym and exercising. I've never heard of a side effect to eating more fruits and veggies. I've never heard a side effect to cooking your food at home. Yet when you go and get your medication that's supposed to make you better, it comes with all of these added side effects from just taking the medication. Mind you, it could have been one small issue that you were dealing with.
Right.
That maybe a lifestyle change could have helped you with. Now, on the other side of things, as a doctor, I do understand that people aren't always forthcoming exactly with how they live and the things that they're doing, when especially coming and complaining about certain issues. So you can't necessarily give lifestyle change advice,
right, to everybody,
because that's not really your thing. Your thing is just to kind of treat what they came in to complain about or what they're having issues with. Your job is trying to help them with that issue. But my problem with that is, over time, we've built a trust in our doctors. I mean, they go to school for way more years than anybody else. They have to go through all these years of residency and do all these things. So when I go to a doctor and I'm complaining of an issue that I've had a problem with for a while, and you're giving me medication to treat the symptoms of the said issue, but this is a example, or this is a symptom that comes along with another issue that over time could be way worse, and that it could be leading to that, but you see these things because you can see the scan, you can read the scan, you know all this other stuff, you have the computers, you have the background research, which I don't have knowledge of and I don't have the access to, but you see what this could be leading to. Yet instead of talking long-term health plans with me or things that I can start to do now, and I can't say all doctors, I've never been to every single doctor in the world, so there may be some doctors that do make that a part of their process, but I've been to a few. I have stuff on my own, in my own health, that I have to regularly see about. And I've lived in multiple places as well. So, and I know enough to where there's some doctors that they'll kind of throw it out there, but you can tell it's just like they're so laxed about it, rather than giving me the real that, hey, not trying to freak you out, but these are some things that you can do long term that I think would help with your overall health. And I think that'll be a better way to approach it. And then give me the paperwork to back it up. Give me the reasonings as to why some of these changes are necessary. And a process to go through it. Now, is that maybe more work? Yeah, but I mean, to make 6 figures a year and be in the, not saying you don't got to worry as much, but being in the category of people who ain't really stressed out about, the things that us normal folk down here are stressed out about as much. I don't know how to word this stuff, people, but you would think that you'd want to go.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know about going to school for 12 years about something I really didn't care and be passionate about. And I think to be a doctor, you have to be more caring and passionate about the people, not the science, not the information, not the lack thereof, but you have to care about actually people and their health and wanting to help make people better. Yeah, you can't heal people. You're not God. Or you don't have necessarily magical powers to make cancer and stuff like that go away. But if you can help someone who is younger, or you can help someone who should have 50 more years in their life, hey, I'm just being honest with you. Because let's be real. They will listen, not everybody, but for the most part, people will listen to their doctors. Because, I mean, you've been brought up to trust what a doctor says, to trust their opinion, to seek it out and pay hundreds of dollars for it. And whether that was the issue that they treated or not.
Well,
so
I was going to say, and you said something that I just wanted, I was done, but it's short. You said something about symptoms. That's another thing too, is that I feel like whenever you are brought to the doctor, or even a hospital, like a whole surgeon, because something's going on, or you're in the ER, or just your primary care physician, you're always being treated for your symptoms, not the actual problem. And half the time that you're being treated for symptoms, or at least in my personal experience, my symptoms have never gotten better. And like, that's another thing too, is how come I'm going home after visiting you and paying bukus of money to go see specialists or whatever about a problem I'm having, you run all these tests, I pay bukus more money because I had to go run tests and all this other stuff, and this has happened multiple times to me, that like, you couldn't pinpoint my problem, and you said, well, let's try this, this, and that to fix it. None of that fixed it. I went home, I did the research on the symptoms I was having, I looked up all the different things it could have been, and I looked up different ways that I could make it better, or what the causes were of the actual problem itself, and I've literally fixed or healed myself and my own problems. Yet, I spent bukus of money for what? Like, I want to have that conversation, but that's even a conversation for another day, because I could really get into that. And I feel like that's why I have such... Forget the New World Order. I have a distrust with the healthcare system here. You know what I'm saying? Because wouldn't have you fixed my problems, because you haven't. You've only treated my symptoms, and even then, sometimes didn't always treat them fully, and you've never actually fixed anything for me. Anything that has ever gotten fixed, I've had to figure out or fix on my own. Like, nothing's actually been solved. Do you see my point? Like,
well, yeah, and
that's think, you trying to keep me sick.
I think that too is another part of it, and I don't get. I've never went to school to be a doctor, so I don't understand how they're necessarily taught and or trained. I don't know if it's just like an idea of. Dang, I kind of lost the point I was going to make, but like I don't know if it's just an idea of we're not here to find the solution to the problem. Yeah. We're just here to treat the symptom. Or if it is, because a lot of times you'll go to a doctor when they go to school for the same amount of time, so they also be versed in the same stuff.
Right.
But sometimes you'll go to a doctor and then they'll find out an issue, and then they'll send you to a specialist, and then they'll send you to another doctor, and then there's another specialist and another doctor. Yeah. So I don't know if there are levels to things and dealing in certain parts of the body where it's like, I see this, but I'm not a specialist in this area, so it's not for me to say, let me send you. And because I mean, that I'll be cool with, because it's like, okay, you're at least sending me to someone who can give me the answers. Yeah. But, I mean, still.
I've had that, though, and they've not answered things. And, and this is, again, my personal experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've even had, like, I've gone to specialists that I'm like, this is my exact problem, and I kid you not, if you catch my drift, there was no other doctor that it was an obvious this was a specialist I needed to go to, like, and they even said, yeah, I'm the person to help fix this, but after running all these tests and all this stuff, like, you still don't know what's wrong with me, and then you're gonna try and treat me for something, and I'm again paying all this money, because it's not like we have just free health for everything, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, again, I didn't get anywhere, you know what I mean? Like, I did not get anywhere, and I had to go do it on my own, and I was much better and probably healthier doing it the way that I did some. And like I'm just like recalling multiple, and it's not even one time. This is like multiple times that this has personally happened to me. And I actually know a lot of people that this has happened to too. They have the same experience, you know, and like but different issues. Like it's crazy, and I'm 100% believe. And also, when you think about other countries too, like there's a lot of other countries that don't have this much or this many cancers, or it's not as common. Like I feel like I feel like everybody nowadays knows somebody or knows someone who knows someone that has cancer or had cancer.
Yeah.
You know, like, and like, if you go to other countries, it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I feel like it's a way of what we're being exposed to. And that's also then playing into the big pharma idea.
Oh, yeah. They
and
don't know.
Like, and there's cures out there for things that I don't think that we have here.
I mean, you took health. I mean, took health.
Well,
but
basic health
like,
I did, yeah.
I meant to say human anatomy, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Have you
basics,
ever in
yeah.
human anatomy done what's called a case study?
Oh, well, you do that in science anyway, yeah.
And so, like, that's really what it is. Like, it's literally looked at more so as like a science problem. Because, like, it's like they don't know what causes it. Cancer presents itself so differently in everybody. So it's like, okay, you have this type of cancer, but we don't know if it was caused. So the only way to get down to that is try that. Okay,
right.
That didn't work. All right, so what's the next thing we can try?
But on other countries,
but try that, you know.
they've healed it. So what's wrong with the U.S. and why aren't we healing it? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want to know, too.
I'm telling you what it boils back down to is the education. It's
I'm with you there.
It's the sense of controlling. You go to school for 12 years. Oh, you know this is exactly what the information is. You're giving them everything that's here to help. This is the only thing that's going to help that situation. And in terms, it's just prolonging the issue, keeping you more sick, which is giving more money back. And then you got to stay in the doctor's office. You got to keep buying this med. He has to keep prescribing it because that's all he knows to do. Which to me is crazy because he went to school for so many years. And a lot of them have to stay in school because things change. And so
that being said, I think we can wrap this up by saying we do believe in that conspiracy theory. I very strongly believe. And again, I'm not saying that, like, again, I just want to point out.
Everything is not what it seems when you can get what you want by the simplest of means. Be careful not to mess with the balance of things because everything is not boom, 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 boom. What it seems.
I hope you guys enjoy that entire moment that just happened. Shout out Selena Gomez. We love you too, by the way. Well, yes. I love you, so he's got to love you too.
Shout out Benny, GOAT, producer GOAT of the world. People be sleeping on him, but
honestly, hits, I had no idea who he was besides Selena Gomez's fiance.
Had to educate my wife.
He's got all of these interviews out right now about like songs that he produced or worked on, wrote, whatever. And I was like, so he made every banger in like the 2010s. I'm sorry, we're off topic, but yeah, shout out to y'all. 100% we believe in that conspiracy theory. If you don't believe in it though, and you think it's a load of crap, please tell us why, because obviously I have a very strong opinion on it, but I would love for someone to explain it to me. It might take a lot of convincing, but I would love to hear it.
Yes. And we might kind of, and you know, I like the conspiracy theory thing. Maybe we can make it kind of like a segment that we do every week. And maybe I'll start introducing my own, because I have my own conspiracies about stuff. I would love that. And so I'll bring them in, and then I'll introduce them to y'all, and we'll talk about them. We'll have our little thing. We'll back and forth. Whatever.
You know, that could be something we even do on our socials. We don't even, So that way you guys still get all new, fresh ideas. We can maybe even do that on our socials. So that being said, wrapping up, do not forget to follow us, please, if you like this episode or like hearing us yap along. Follow us on our socials on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube.
Us doing every other week now, you're going to get a lot more content on those pages.
Yes.
So if you want to keep up with what's going on, stay in the loop. Give us some more information on what you'd want to see or ways we can do to like just keep it interesting for you, make it more entertaining. Like,
tell us what
that's the way to get in touch for sure.
Yep. There is, I think, 1 or 2 conspiracy theories that came in a little bit late. So if you guys want, we will for sure touch on those throughout the week, probably, again, on our socials. Because I think it'll be a little bit easier and we can get into it. That being said, though, if you have any episode ideas, I did have someone reach out literally today, but I haven't been able to read it yet. Please let us know what your episode ideas are. We will gladly do them, as long as we can have something to talk about, which 2 professional yappers here will talk about it. But yeah, that being said, if you can, please like, share, comment, give us that support. And without further ado, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time on
Let me holler at you. We love you, Holloway gang.